price of just about everything has shot up. You go to the grocery store, you're paying more for things like lettuce and fruit. Carrying costs on homes have also shot up. What is your government doing to protect Canadians next year?
Well, I think, first of all, understanding we're in a very difficult global context. The war in Ukraine that's continuing, the continued disruptions around global supply chains, the challenges that China's facing with its coming out of the zero COVID policy has put a lot of pressure on a lot of different parts of the world. And Canada's no different. We are a little bit better off than most countries around the world because we have slightly more robust supply chains around energy, around other things. But we're still dealing with global headwinds. And that's why, even though we have a very, very strong financial position overall, we're not hesitating to support people through this. Things that will help Canadians through at a very difficult time, because we know this year was tough. Because of the global situation, the first half of next year is likely to be tough as well, but Canadians continue to be there for each other.
But there's no government that can keep spending at this level. And there may be a position now next year where Canadians need even more supports. Specifically, will that happen, and how could it happen?
Well, first of all, the Canadians are right to be alert to whether the financial health of their country is good or not. And of course, governments will say, yes, it's good, and opposition members will say, no, it's terrible. That's why it's useful to look at what the international bond rating agencies say about the fiscal plan and fiscal support of a country. Canada is the third largest AAA rating in the world. We have the best fiscal position of any of our G7 peers. Most of our peer countries, lower deficit than all of them. We're in a very good position, which allows us to both be there with generous, targeted supports where necessary, but also continue to remain fiscally responsible. And that's the path we've walked over the past few years. A number of people said the kinds of COVID supports we put out were problematic for our going into debt, and certainly we did take on a lot of debt. But what we also saw was we had a faster economic recovery, and our fiscal position coming out of the pandemic is better than most other countries, even as we had a less bad pandemic, because we were there for small businesses, for workers, for families.
So what does that mean for next year then? Will there be that continued targeted spending on the heels of what has already been unprecedented spending?
Well, what we spent this fall in targeted supports on GST, on rental and dental and other things was calibrated to not contribute to the inflation crisis, which it didn't. That spending had a negligible, if any, impact on inflation. We're going to maintain our ability to do things and look at what we need to do.
You've struck a deal with the NDP, a party that wants you to spend billions more on programs such as farmer care. There are some economists who feel that, particularly as we're facing these economic headwinds, that austerity may be the way to go. What's your red line with the NDP? I mean, is there a point where you say, no, this is too expensive, this is too much money, and are you willing to take a position on that red line, even if it means triggering an election?
Well, first of all, you talk about austerity, and yes, it is unfortunate that a number of people, including the Conservative Party, still talk about austerity, that you can cut your way into better balance for people. They're talking about going after seniors' pensions. They're talking about holding back on EI. These are things that we fundamentally disagree with. We know that supporting people in the right way matters. Now, there were a lot of concerns in our first budget after signing that confidence and supply agreement with the NDP that we were going to put forward an NDP massive spending style budget. What our budget in 2022 actually put forward was an extremely responsible, balanced approach that had everyone reaffirming our AAA credit ratings, that Canada was on solid financial backing.
So what's your red line with the NDP? At one point, do you
what
say
is good for Canadians or not? That's our line with everyone. What makes sense? What doesn't make sense?
Is there something that they currently want that you will stop at? You'll just say, no, we can't do this because it costs too much?
Well, you can look at any of the things that they've put forward and see, well, we did that one. We agree with him on that. Other ones we're not doing. Well, we won't do the things that we don't think are good for Canadians or good for our future.
And what do you think that is?
Well, give me a proposal, what they're talking about.
Into pharmacare.
Pharmacare, we've been committed to reducing prescription drug prices for Canadians in real, tangible ways. We've moved forward with a $500 million high-cost drugs for rare diseases strategy that's taking a huge amount of pressure off some of the provincial issues. We're creating bulk purchasing power. We're creating a Canada drug agency to make sure that we're getting efficiencies and lower prices. There's a lot of things we're doing as we keep moving towards lowering prescription drug prices for everyone.